Welcome back, everyone. Let's see if you can defeat the smartest people in the planet today. I'm gonna pause in key moments and see if you can find the best moves in the position. The first game I'm gonna show you is Bill Gates versus Magnus Carlsen. So we're gonna play the role of Magnus Carlsen in this position. And they say that Bill Gates has an ELO of 1600. From this game, it will be much lower. But okay, let's start with this game. So e4, knight c6, knight f3, normal development, and Magnus strikes with d5. Okay, and then we get bishop d3. Bishop d3 is really bad because now it's blocking the pawn. Where do you put your bishop now? So this is, it looks like he's defending the pawn, but it's not, it's just not very good development. So now we develop the knight f6, e takes on d5. So that is also an inaccuracy. Slightly better would have been to push the pawn to e5, always a common idea for e4 openings. And now you are forced to move the knight with black. So after Bill Gates takes, Magnus takes back with the queen, knight c3, and then we go to h5, almost like a reverse Scandinavian, where we put the queen here. In this case, we're gonna put it here. It's fine. And we want to go for a quick attack, a quick checkmate. In this case, Magnus Carlsen was playing with 30 seconds or 1 minute on the clock, and Bill Gates had more time, I think 3 minutes. So we go for bishop g4. It's all good. And now h3. h3 is basically a mistake because now try to find the best move in the position and get an advantage, a long-term advantage for black. Feel free to pause the video. Yeah, the best move in the position is just to take the knight. Once this happens, you trade queens, and now they have double pawns. They have poor development. They're gonna have to struggle to develop this bishop. Your two knights are out. You are 1 and 2 moves away from competing development, so this is much better. You're already winning against Bill Gates. Okay, that didn't happen in the game. h3. Magnus is gonna go for tricks. He knows that he has to win the game quickly, so he's willing to sacrifice pieces. He goes for knight e5. Knight e5 is tricky, right? It doesn't look like it's so obvious to punish it. So here they say they take. Now you can just take the queen, right? So the best move in the position is just to take the bishop, right? Just like it happened in the game. It just looks logical. Okay, I'm just gonna take the bishop. And now, okay, we're gonna take the pawn. The best move in the position, we're threatening here to checkmate, right? This knight cannot be moved. So the best move in the position for white is going to be to put the rook here on e1 and now try to escape. If they ever give a check here, now you can escape. So let's say you take this knight, so you can give a check here. Now queen can take, and now the king has an escape square. So yeah, that will be a mistake. The problem is Bill Gates fell for the trap. He actually falls for the trap, and he takes the knight, and yeah, you can see it, right? This is checkmate. So okay, if you found this move earlier, I think you can defeat Bill Gates. Just pushing the pawn. After he pushed the pawn, just take the knight and you're winning. In this game, we're gonna play against Albert Einstein. He has the white pieces, and we're gonna pretend to play for the black pieces. Edward Searle, apparently he was his son, but I don't know exactly. Let me know in the comments who this person was, if you know it. So let's start with this one. We're gonna get an Italian Giochi piano game where the main line is gonna be c3, preparing for d4. Okay, so knight f6, d4. We just have this trade in the center. Bishop to b4, keeping a check. Now knight c3, castle. And at this point, we can also jump in with the knight and take this pawn. So e5, knight to e4, and bishop goes back to d3. This is a slight mistake because now we can trade the knights. This one comes with tempo, and we're winning the rook. Okay, so king f1, Bishop takes on a1. And now I want you to take a decision here. This looks scary, right? Albert Einstein goes for a Greek sacrifice, where he's gonna, if you take this bishop, then the knight is gonna come in, and the queen is gonna come in here, threatening to checkmate. So just to show you the moves. Now, do you actually take this bishop? Right, there is some calculation to be done here. Or you just move. You just move away. You can just move here, avoiding this capture. So actually the best move in this position is to capture. You actually have to capture, because after this happens, you can give back the queen. You're giving back one piece. And let's say you can take this pawn. You are slightly better for with black. Or if you're not better, you at least have a lot of material to play with. And they still haven't developed the rook. The king has to make an awkward move just to allow the rook to come out. And yeah, everything is copacetic for black. So that didn't happen in the game, right? They just move away. Probably they didn't like this calculation of, okay, I'm gonna get checkmated, so I'm gonna move away. Okay, so after king h8, now we're gonna get knight g5, g6, trying to trap the bishop. h4. h4 looks scary, right? The idea is to eliminate the pawn, and now the queen is coming in. The bishop also has a good diagonal, so this one is scary. But according to the computer, we still have a draw. We still have a draw because now you can actually take this pawn. Second here. You can actually take this pawn, right? You can take this one, and now you can go for a trade of knights. Then that's not as scary. So let's say that this happens. Let's say they play h5. So now you can go for the trade of knights. That will be one option. Another is the best move, actually. The best move for white is going to take this pawn, takes this pawn, and yeah, everything is fine. Everything is completely fine for black. Still looks scary. They still have ideas of pushing the h pawn, but you can defend this position. So that doesn't happen in the game. They go for king g7 with the idea of putting the rook here, which is also a mistake. But okay, so this happens, h5. How would you save this position? Because the idea of moving the knight here, the king here to g7, black has this purpose of putting the rook on this diagonal, attacking the bishop. But there is something much better. Can you find the best move and draw the game against Albert Einstein? Yeah, this is a draw if you play b6. This subtle move, b6, just with the intention of putting your bishop on this diagonal. Right, this is kind of the killer move, which is like crazy, but yeah. b6 is the best move. Now, the best move in the position for black, for white, it will be to move the pawn so they have a space for the king. And now, yeah, we get a game here, right? We can even capture this pawn and everything is good. So, yeah, that doesn't happen in the game. After b6, no, after h5, sorry, we get rook to h8. So they eliminate the pawn. Now we just take back with the pawn. Okay, queen f3. This is threatening to checkmate. So we have to defend. And this is completely lost for black. Okay, so they give up the knight just to open up the diagonal for the bishop. So this is actually a brilliant move. Take the knight. And yeah, at this moment, black resign because they see the mate in 3 or 4. So this is mate in 4. Let me show you the moves here really quickly. That doesn't even get play in the board, but yeah, this is completely lost for black. Let's go to our next game. It's going to be Albert Einstein. We're gonna play with the white pieces against Robert Oppenheimer with the black pieces. So let's get the game going with Rui Lopez. Now, this is the main line, the Morphy defense, a6, bishop a4, b5. We have to retreat the bishop, knight f6, castle, knight takes on e4, rook to e1. This is perfectly fine for both sides. Everything has been played a lot of times. So d5, and now we have a slight inaccuracy. A4 is showing as a blunder because now black has this move, bishop e5, threatening this pawn. But black doesn't even go for that. They play b4, kind of closing down this position, and it's completely fine for both sides again. Now d3, challenging this knight. Now we get knight c5, threatening to take the bishop. Now knight takes the pawn, and it looks scary for black because the knight, the king is in the middle of the board, so you kind of have to do something about it. Knight goes to e7. Okay, so avoiding any kind of shenanigans with the knight. Now queen f3, and we have tactics in this position. Okay, after f6, sorry, we have tactics in this position. Can you find the best move for white and win the game? Beat Robert Oppenheimer. Okay, so the move is going to be just giving a check, right? This is, if you have done your puzzle rush, this is a classic move. So they're gonna have to defend here with the pawn g6, knight takes on g6, they take, and now we win the rook. Yeah, this is just completely winning for white in the position. So the game goes on, knight takes on b3. We have double pawns, but it's completely fine if we're playing white. Now, we just have an extra piece, right? So queen d6, bishop to h6, king d7. Now we can win the bishop, and the bishop moves away, so like hitting the bishop. Queen g7, rook to e8, knight to d2, c5, rook a to d1. And we have again a fancy move. We have some tactics here. It's kind of tactics. How would you hit the queen and this pawn at the same time? Feel free to pause the video. Oh, the rest of the pieces look really tied down, right? So the rook and the queen are defending this knight. So the knight cannot move because it's pinned by the queen. And the rook is also great here, so attacking all pieces. You have this fancy move, which is just to go knight c4. Black cannot really take because now we have this pin. So Robert Oppenheimer takes the knight. This is just completely lost. And I think after this, they resign. So if you find the move here, which is just simple tactics, right? Simple tactics, if you do the puzzle rush just 5 minutes, you are familiar with this position where you know you can take this pawn after we give a check here with the queen. Okay, so in this one, we're gonna try to find the best moves against Karl Marx, which was very good at chess. Now, e4, e5, we're gonna get a king's gambit accepted. We're taking the pawn here, bishop to c4, g5, protecting the pawn, but it looks a bit dubious, right? We're just weakening the king side. Knight to f3, a blunder, but when I look at the engine, after g4, it shows me that this is a book move, so which is super weird. But whatever. So queen takes on f3, queen f6, and we have an extra piece with black. However, they have better development, right? So we can take the pawn in the center on e5, d3, and we just have to be just very aware of this pin. Now bishop to h6, knight to c3. We're gonna get the knights out. And now rook to a1. We get hit with the, we have to move the queen. Now knight to d5, threatening this fork. We have to move the knight. King to d8, bishop to c3, targeting the rook. So we have to move the rook. What will be the best position, the best move in this position for black? Feel free to pause the video and draw the game. We essentially have this threat, right? We have a threat of the knight coming in and capturing this knight. So I think these two moves are possible in this position. Now, the best move is going to be rook to e8. So if this happens, knight to f6, you just push the pawn to d6 and it's completely fine. That didn't happen in the game. What actually happened was rook to g8, which also makes sense, right? But now they also have this move for later, right? So f6 is targeting the knight, and there is only one protector of this pawn, of this square, rather, and we have many attackers, 1, 2, 3. So this is still just very scary for black. Okay, we're gonna try to defend with the bishop. There is a trade, and now they take the pawn, and we still have a slight advantage, right? We still have, it's like 4, 5 pieces versus 6. The problem is this bishop is stuck, the king is unsafe, and the rook is also in the corner. Okay, so we're gonna get knight to e5 here in the queen, queen e4, d6, finally trying to develop the bishop, h4, and now we only have one move that continues the game. This is a mistake to go queen to g4, right? So the threat here is this pawn is hanging. What would be the best move? Try to find it and continue the game and continue with advantage. We also have an advantage, a slight advantage with black. Okay, so the only move in the position is to go queen g7. Okay, we're keeping an eye here, keeping an eye on the pawn, and we're hanging onto everything here. Yeah, after queen g4, then bishop takes the pawn, which makes sense. Rook to f8. Now bishop to b5. We move the queen finally to this square, only it's a bit late, because now the knight has to move. We're losing this tempo. The knight moves. We get c3, a5, a5. I don't understand what is behind this move. The best move in the position would have been to go knight to f5, because there is a very clear threat. We have this threat. We have to be just careful with this knight coming in. That's the problem in this position. We have to solve the light square problem, and a5 doesn't do us any good. So that's why putting the knight here, okay, at least I get some mobility with the knight, right? I get some mobility, and yeah, so it's slightly better to play. So after a5, they go for that. So we have to take with bishop, and now they're gonna trade everything. They're gonna trade the rook. Have to take back with the queen. Queen takes the bishop, and rook to a6. I guess you're kind of justifying this push pawn, and everything is falling apart for white, for black. Sorry, rook f1. Have to move the queen to g7, and bishop to g4. This is threatening to checkmate, and this is terrible. Okay, we're gonna prevent the checkmate. Rook f7. And this is where black resigns. There is nothing to be done. We're losing the rook. We're losing the queen. This is threatening also checkmate. So everything is falling apart in the position, and black resigned. But if you found the move here before queen g4, that is a good move. Just okay, that makes sense. And this one especially, rook to g8. Instead, rook e8. If you found this move, then you're an excellent defender. In this one, we're gonna try to defeat David Hume. We're gonna play with Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who wrote The Social Contract, and David Hume, also philosopher, writer, important historical figure. Okay, so we're gonna get the pierce defense, d6, knight f3, developing the knight to kind of a weird square, but it's fine. Bishop to c4, e5, d4, c5. c5. Now, if you're playing white, I will ask you, what will be your plan for white in this position? Every time you see this pawn structure, the stone wall, now you have to ask yourself, where do you put your pieces? Your objective should be to get an outpost on this square on d5, primarily with the knight, but in this position, we're gonna get an outpost with the queen. So we develop the knight, it's fine. And now we're gonna get an outpost here, threatening to take this pawn. And this was actually a slight inaccuracy. They cannot really move the bishop here, knowing that you would get here the queen. They would have to play queen d7, keeping an eye on the pawn. But okay, the game continues. Queen d5, knight h6, defending the pawn. Makes sense. Now we get rid of the pawn with this, of the knight with this bishop. Castle. The bishop has to retreat. So queen b6, hitting this pawn and getting some activity on the board, right? Some counterplay. Knight takes on e5, and now queen takes on b2. Okay, so after this, there is a threat here. They're gonna take the knight, they're gonna take the rook. So you have to do something about it. Now, white doesn't even care, and they take this pawn. Okay, so here I think the ideas are clear, right? I'm gonna attack here this queen. There is a pin, and they cannot even move here. That's just killer. Can you find the best move for black in this position that leads to a draw? Because yeah, again, you have this threat, but you also have to worry about defense if you're playing black. Okay, so the best move in the position is to take the knight, and this is going to lead to a draw. After this happens, okay, the king will have to move to e2, and now we get knight to f6, hitting the queen, and yeah, this is a draw. Or at least it's an equal position with the computer, probably not playing for a draw exactly. But let's go back. They don't even take the knight. They take the rook because they're thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna get the rook. There is a problem with that. So after this happens, now try to find the sequence of moves that wins the game for white and defeats David Hume. Yeah, I think it's really easy. If you have trained the smother mate, you can see that there is a threat here on the king. If I move the knight, I'm gonna get a check. So I just have to move it to the right place. I'm gonna move it here, double check, I have to go to the corner, and I go for the smother mate. I give up the queen. This is a brilliancy. I have to take with the rook, and this is checkmate. Okay, so I hope you found it. You defeated David Hume. Alright, the next game is going to be Emmanuel Lasker. He was on a whole different level. He was a chess master, a chess grandmaster, second world champion, economist, philosopher, mathematician, literally a genius. And this game is against one of the greatest, Jose Raul Capablanca. So we're gonna get a positional masterclass, and the first moves are just very simple, really common, right? We're gonna get a Ruy Lopez, with the difference that we're gonna take the knight. And what you want to do, the general strategy with black, you have these double pawns, with white. You want to trade all pieces. You want to trade queens and trade as many pieces as possible, because in the end game, you're going to get an advantage if they don't have pawns on this side of the board. So d4, we're gonna get this trade of queens, and after finishing development, there is going to be this pawn push of f4. Okay, f4. I'm gonna try to put as much pressure as possible with white. Rook to e8, knight to b3, f6, and now f5. f5 is just, this is the killer move in the position, because now you're gonna have to struggle with black. They don't have a lot of space. That's the problem. b6, bishop to f4, and so far everything looks fine, right? There is no big blunders, no big mistakes. The only slight inaccuracy, and I think this is costing the game for black, is going to be this move, bishop to b7, which looks like it's just a normal move. I'm putting my bishop on the long diagonal. However, now the computer wants to keep the bishop here and try to get rid of this pawn, because this is going to be an anchor for the knight to come in and put it here. Oh, it's actually this knight. To put it, I can put an outpost with the knight here on e4, on e6. So we're gonna get this trade. Remember the plan. We want to trade all pieces. We get this outpost for the knight. Now rook to d7. And I think I'm gonna actually skip ahead. As you can see, we don't have much space for black. They're really constrained in this position. And we have a lot of maneuvering moves. So this is move 18. I'm going to skip to move 38. Just because we get a lot of the same, right? The pawns hadn't really moved in this position. I'm gonna skip actually this one. So here we're gonna get this rook. The pieces are not going anywhere, and you just have to exploit this position with white. We want to trade rooks, possibly, but in this one we also have this rewritten rook move. We're gonna get a check here. King to d8. We have a check. The bishop retreats, and after knight to c5, this is completely losing for black. We can get an outpost here, hitting the king and the rook. It's completely losing, and the bishop cannot be moved. The knight is not going anywhere, so everything is losing. That's the problem. There is an advantage of 7 points for white, and black resign. In this position, nothing to be done. Okay, guys. Let me know in the comments how many moves did you find, how many people did you beat, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.